This time from Yerushalmi Bikkurim, the article Odes for Harder Edition. We are mamish at the top, right, the beginning of Yud Beis of an Aleph, the Shishim, and that is in the Vilna on the Vav Amud Beis, 10 lines down in the wide lines, also the Shishim. Okay, so the Gemara says, the Shishim, if a person dies at the age of 60, so then that Misa Mura Batera, that is Misa, which is stated in the Torah, the may say Midbar died at the age of 60. And the Gemara is going to explain this. It says, is that after the Chet HaMaragim, because Baruch Hu said that none of the Bnei Yisrael are going to die in the Midbar, and they're not going to Eretz Yisrael. So God, Yerushalmi, for calculate this or imagine this or look figure it out. Shiatzi Yitzayim Ben Asim Shana. A person left Israel is 20 years old. And he may have then spent 40 years in the desert. Umesi died, and he says, Omer Amesa Shishim Shana Misamura Batera. So this comes out that is Misa, which is stated in the Torah. In other words, each year people would die when they reach the age of 60 until finally the last year of the. Although there's I would say elsewhere the last year the Takon was Batel, the Xer was Batel, but in any event, so the last year the people who left Egypt at the age of 20, who were the youngest, in which the Xer was Nixar, they died, so they died at the age of 60. And Ksiva says, Tavo bekelach ale kever. So kelach is, Gematria is 60. Kaf lamed ches, base kaf lamed ches, and that is the remez to 60 being the age of death. Sometimes the word kelach is a word which is hard to translate, and it's not even sure exactly what the translation is. This is it seems to be it's a lot in elsewhere in that pasuk of Tabo Kelach Kever is a pasuk in Yov Hey. The pasuk appears elsewhere in Yov Lamed. Avad Kelach. The seems like Kelach, in modern Hebrew, means the language of moisture, but in ancient and yes, coming down to Kever, but Kelach would mean coming down while still Lo Nos Lecho, like it says in the Torah about Moshe Rabbeinu, and the language of Lach, moisture. But there are other interpretations which were given by the classical Mefarshim. Any event. Next. L'shimim Shana. Misa Shal Chiba. If a 78 person dies in 70 years, it's a death of Chiba, of affection. The time on earth allocation is 70 years. Shmonim, if it's 80 years, Misa Shal Zikna. It's a death of elderliness. Shneimar says, being real Shmonim Shana, if a person dies at 80 years, this is a mighty death, so to speak. Chem Barzil Amar David, so to Barzilai. It's a figure in Shmuel Beis Yutes. It says that Barzilai said to David, Ben Shmonim Shana Nochi Hayom, Haydam and Tovara, I'm 80 years old today. Can I distinguish between that which tastes good and that which tastes bad? It says previously in that parak, a few psukim before, Barzilai Zakein Ma'od. So 80 is very elderly. It says here, Ever Chamishim, but the language it's changed by I think the Rav Fulda, the Gra, and the Yerushalmi to Avar. Person who passed Avar Chamishim past the age of 50, but so Davar should be Kores, and he did something for which he deserves Kores. Then says Avar Rav Chade, but the Rav Fulda and the Gra changes that to Achav Chade. Can he eat and make merry? In other words, say, okay, I passed 60. There's no chorus anymore. I ate does something wrong. Is that off the hook? Similarly, Avashis, a person who passed the age of 60. not afar, but avar. Shitim asa davar shu aval misa, and he does something which is for which he should have misa de shamayim. Again, not aval, but achal chade. Should eats and makes merry. So Tani learned somebody who, an elderly man who eats chalev, which for which avera is kares. Should be kares. Who's going to tell us? In other words, how are we going to know that kares applies to him? Then it says here the Tanya, but actually Raful the Gra and the Levi trying to take it out. Shabbos. Or the person's Chal Shabbos, which is also the person does it. It's Chayim Koris. So how he makes me Koris? How does he die by Koris? He's over 60, 50 over 60. Elakini. Rather, this is the way to understand it by a Zokin. That even though chorus of years is not relevant, there's a chorus of days, as we're going to now explain. Somebody who dies after 1 day of illness. Zel misa shel zam. This is the death of anger. In other words, there's a penalty involved here. Shnayim, even a person dies after 2 days. Zel misa shel behola. This is a hasty death. Okay, that means it's also some sort of negative phenomenon. L'shleisha, a person dies after 3 days, then that's meis b'magefa. That's dying in a plague. Okay, in other words, again, those are considered to be hasty deaths of various different levels of severity. Now, on that, Tanya Rav Chalil, continuing that idea, Tanya Rav Chalil Rafta ben Sho ben meis b'echad b'shnayim b'shleisha. If a person dies for in 1, 2, or 3 days, which you just said is a negative thing, zehu meis b'koris. That's a death of koris. So in other words, there's a koris in a quick, overly quick death. Okay, obviously, not every time is that the case, but the way to tell the person died by koris, according to Chafter Bar Shmuel, is that Shol is he died very quickly, too quickly. What's defined as not quickly. If it's 4 or 5 days, that's also a death in which he was seized. Tossed. In other words, he was died without sufficient preparation. L'shisha misas derech eretz. A person dies after 6 days of illness. That is normal. Shiva, a person dies after 7 days of illness. Misas shel chiba. That's a death of affection, meaning that's appropriate. That's the appropriate time for a person to be sick for a week and then to die. If the person's illness lasts for more than 7 days, makes me swear. Death of affliction, and hopefully he's to remember Chaper. Now, the Gemara says, why are you saying the person dies after 3 days is considered dying by a mageh in a plague? He said, Shami Kali the Rebbe. He said, we heard the voice of Rebbe. I guess he was heard from at a drasha. Darsha was darshing. Vahika, it's a pasuk in Shmuel Aleph Chav Hey. Vahika says Yamim, Nagov Hashem is Novel Vayamos. It was for 10 days, and then Hashem smote Novel, and Novel died. Novel, husband of Abigail, who was later became the wife of David HaMelech. So why 10 days? Evidently Shmuel died at that juncture, and Kosh Baruch Hu delayed the Evel of Novo for 7 days. The death of Novo for 7 days, in order that his death, the mourning for his death, should not coincide with the mourning of the death of Shmuel, the great tzaddik and Nabi of the generation. And then, then he lingered for another 3 days. Umes Magrefa, and it says Vayigof. He died Magrefa. So we see that that was the that is the definition of Mes Magrefa for those 3 days. Rabbi Chagai B'Shem Yeshua Ben Nachman said, Soras Yomim Ein Soras Yomim Ein Ksivkan. It says doesn't say for after 10 days, but for 10 days. So so the Vadi Darshans, it wasn't like an extension after Shmuel's death, but rather he gave him the 10 days as a period of time. It says Yom Sheben Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippurim. He gave him these 10 days as if they were the 10 days Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Shema Yaseh Tshuva. Maybe he's going to do tshuva. Obviously, Nova was on a madrega that he should be given this opportunity. For also, he did not do tshuva. So the point is the Rav Fold and Leib Yerushalmi point out that this is a special magefa, not the magefa of a regular plague, but this is a magefa of not 3 after 7, but of 10 that he didn't take advantage of the 10, and that's why he died at that point. But there's no riot from here, specifically for Mises Magefa. Okay, that was one of the rare Yerushalmi Agaritas. The Yerushalmi is, I don't know if I mentioned this in the past, but forgive me if you're reading it for me again, but the Yerushalmi Bavli is 1/3 Agarita, the Bavli is 1/3 Agarita, and the Yerushalmi is 1/6 Agarita. So Agarita is more rare in the Yerushalmi than it is in the Bavli. Okay, it says going further. Kana Shal Rav Kana asked, as you know in the Bible, the Yerushalmi is not called Rav Kana because they didn't recognize that title in Eretz Yisrael when he came up, and he never got the real smicha in Eretz Yisrael. Rav Kana Shal, he asked, it says here Rabbi Zira, but the Pnei Moshe Shnoso changed that to Rav. Zar Sh'achal Truma. So this, the question is like this. He asked, is the Zar Sh'achal Truma Chai Misa B'dei Shamayim? So do we say, since it's by a coin who Tome, who ate Truma, Mesbo Ki Chalu, a Pasuk Beiker Chabeis Test, Mesbo Ki Chalu, Ani Hashem Mekadasham, Chol Zar Yochel Kodesh. So it says, by the coin, but Truma says, Mesbo. And then it says, juxtapose that, Chol Zar Yochel Kodesh. So do we say that there's a linkage made here between a Zar and a coin Tameh, and a Zar is Oschai Misa? They say coin Tameh is Memisa. And Zar is a full stop, so to speak, between Mesbo Ki Chalu, Ani Hashem Mekadasham, period. Chol Zar Yochel Kodesh, and Zar is Belav. But no Misa B'dei Shamayim. Because Ani Hashem Mekadasham, which refers to coin, with every taker's interruption, explaining why coin's penalty is more severe. So Rab says, Zarshi is Chumas Oschai Misa B'dei Shamayim. That's what it says. Amalei Bavon Misa. It also gets to that. Min the Tzali, after Rab Davin, he said he changed his mind. He said, Amar Le Ani Hashem Hifsi Kainyan. Ani Hashem Mekadasham actually interrupts. Okay, so therefore it's not the same penalty. Okay, according to Achal, Truma Betuma is Bemisa. According to Truma is Misa, and the Gra puts in Vein Zor Shachal Truma Bemisa, and the Zor eats Truma does not get that. Okay, Rabbi Chiv Shem Yochid said no, Zor Shachal Truma Bavan Misa. The Zor eats Truma does get that. Misa Yishmaim. Masnisim beside Rabbi Yochanan, and the following Mishnah seems to be a riot to a brisa. Says Masnisin, but the Yerushalmi interchangeable. Masnisa. Masnisa beside Rabbi Yochanan. Probably brisa is a evidence. Rabbi Yochanan. Ochle Truma. People eat Truma. Here it says Bizadon, but the Rav of Fold and the Gra and Levi Yerushalmi changed it to Bizarim. Ochle Truma Bizarim. The people who eat Truma, who are Zarim, Tohar, or Vitame, Shachal, Shachal, you have whether it's a Torah, we have a Zor eats Truma, whether it's a Torah, Shachal, Truma Torah, or a Zor Tame eats Truma Tmea, or Zor Torah, she eats Truma Tmea, or Zor Tame, she eats Truma Torah, all of them Chai Misa B'dei Shamayim. Okay, so it says, Ochle Truma B'zorim, Torah Shachal Tor, B'Torah Shachal Tome, Torah Shachal Tome, and B'Torah Shachal Tor, B'Avam Misa. They all get that Misa B'dei Shamayim. Ochle Truma Kohanim, he put Truma V'er Kohanim, Torah Shachal Tor, K'mitzvasa. Torah eats Torah, that's the mitzvah. Torah shachal tamei b'asei. A Torah eats truma tmeya, then he's over mitzvahs asei. The one I was going to explain about these things in a moment. But in any event, tamei shachal tahor, a tamei who eats tahor, it should say b'misa. The tamei shachal the Gemara puts in Shaseo. The tamei shachal tamei below tasei. Tamei it's tamei. It's not misa. It's lo tasei. Macham is meimer tamei Torah shachal tamei b'masei. What was your source to saying? What led you to say that Torah eats tamei is b'asei? Rabbi Memo said because it says v'chayil chamei kadashim. After you come Torah, you can eat kadashim. Zayin says after Harav Shem, after the mikveh and Harav Shemesh, that's when you can eat from kashim. Minat toherim, v'lo minat meim, and that's only people who are Torah should eat the truma, not people who are tamei. And since it says the prohibition is derived from mitzvah say afterwards you should eat from afterwards you should eat from the truma. Kol lasei lo sasei sheba mikoach hasei, any lo sasei which comes as a result as an inference from any lo sasei comes as an inference from mitzvah say is a asei. Okay. Ravina said it says anything which any fish which has fins and scales you should eat. It's a positive commandment. It's obvious that anybody who eats fish which doesn't have fins and scales is violating commandments. So why does it have to say explicitly a lav? So the it comes to tell us that somebody who eats from tummy is over an asay and a los asay. Okay, once about lab asay, we say that that's why it was said they have to write the lab. Since lab asay is an asay, if you want to have a full lav, you have to write out the lav explicitly. And that's what the Gemara goes on to say. Begin to chsiv, because it says lav explicitly. Lav chsiv asay wouldn't say mitzvah asay. A lav chsiv, sorry, if it wasn't written, asehu, would be only an asay. Have a kolos you can derive the lav. Have a kolos asay but mikach asay asehu. So it's, again, like we said, any los asay which comes derived from an asay is a mitzvah asay. Rabbi Yossi Shomer Mihacha, that according to Torah who eats truma tmeya, as I say, learns that from here. That says by psulim mukdashim, the saying which was once a korban, which now became got a mum and you redeemed it. Hatamei v'Torah yachdav yochlenu. Says in Dvarim Yud Beis, Hatamei v'Torah yachdav yochlenu, that you're Tamei Torah allowed to eat psulim mukdashim in one plate, even though the meat is going to become tamei. So it says clearly that tamei Torah can't eat psulim mukdashim. Kan ha tamei Torah ochli mekorachas. Here they can eat at one plate, but truma. But the inference is by truma. Ein ha tamei v'haTorah ochli mekorachas. The tamei Torah cannot eat from the same plate. So says the Gemara, how do you know that the inference is that by truma not? Maybe by kachim. They know it's supposed to be by kachim, not by truma. So kachim, which are still kachim. Rabbi Yochanan said, in begin kachim, if it was on account of kachim, kvar ksiv, it already says by kachim by ikar v'zayin yutes v'basar she'yiga b'chol tamei lo ye'achel. So explicitly, you're not allowed to eat any meat which became tamei. So from here you know that a Torah can't eat a tamei, and it's a lo saseh. Okay, so the Gemara goes back to Rav. Rav said that tamei who ate azar she'achal truma is nachad misa, it's just a lav. So masnisa here, masnisa means the Mishnah. So okay, you see masnisa interchangeable in the Yerushalmi. Masnisa pliga Rav. Our Mishnah argues on Rav. He said, Yerushalmi Bikkurim chayv lemisa. So it sounds like a Zara eats Truma or Bikurim is Chayv Misa. Plus le Bikohanim. So he said, no. That Mishnah said a Kohen Tomei. It's not talking about a Zara. A Zara is only allowed. Hatina v'Chomesh Haki. So it says when Haki says about a Kohen, it says in the Mishnah you have to pay Chomesh. Yesh Chomesh Kohanim. Is there a Chomesh Kohanim? A Kohen who, even if he's whatever he eats, whatever he's over, whatever he violates, a Kohen she'ochel to Truma Tmeya is not Chayv Chomesh. Plus, it's studying Mastisa. So he says our Mishnah has two sides. Rachel Bikohanim, they have beginning the Mishnah's discussion Kohanim when it says it's that you're Chayv Misa. That's about a Kohen who Tamei reads Truma or Bikurim. Sefer B'Yisrael, and the end of the Mishnah is talking about Yisrael when it says Chomesh. That's talking about Yisrael. So the Gemara says Mastisa Messiah to Rabbi Yochanan. The Raful and Yerushalmi changed it to Masnitza Palik Rabbi Yochanan. And the Mishnah argues on Rabbi Yochanan because the lashon of the Mishnah is that also Lazarim. Right, the Shuma Bikurim Chayav Misa v'Chomesh Basuim Lazarim. So also sounds like a lav, not like a chimisa. Pasal pachas mikshir. So he mentions right in the Mishnah that it's talking about when less than a shear. Less than a shear is only usher, and chatzi shear is also midaraisa midrabanan. But in any event, that's talking about usher chatzi shear, which is a little bit doichav in lashon Mishnah. But that's but then would only be usher, and the live you get if it's a full and chiyuv misa. Sorry, you get only if it's a full shear of a kazais. Okay, long day today. But we got to the next number.